Americans' debt is spiraling out of control. Hey guys, what's going on? Hermdo back with you. Let's take a look at some of this wacky data. This is the household debt and credit report. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Household debt hits 18.04 trillion. Auto and credit card delinquency transition rates remain elevated. Total household debt increased by 93 billion to reach 18 trillion in the fourth quarter, according to the latest quarterly report on household debt and credit. Aggregate delinquency rates ticked up by zero point 0.1 percentage points from the previous quarter to 3.6% of outstanding debt in some stage of delinquency. Mortgage balances rose by 11 billion to stand at 12.61 trillion at the end of December. Transition into serious delinquency, defined as 90 or more days past due, remained stable for mortgages, but edged up for auto loans, credit cards, and HELOC balances. Auto loan balances saw an 11 billion increase to 1.66 trillion in the fourth quarter, while credit card balances increased by 45 billion from the previous quarter to reach 1.21 trillion at the end of December. And here's a little bit of a breakdown of it. Non-housing debt in the red here. You know, that's insane. Absolutely insane. Housing debt, that's going up there too. Jesus. Housing debt, 13 trillion. Non-housing debt, 5 trillion. Insane. But mortgage balances, a little blurb at the end here. Shown on consumer credit rating. Credit reports grew by 11 billion during the fourth quarter of 2024 and totaled 12.61 trillion at the end of December. Balances on home equity lines of credit HELOC rose by 9 billion, the 11th consecutive quarterly increase after 2022 quarter one, and there is now 396 billion in aggregate outstanding balances, 79 billion above the series low reached in the first quarter of 2022. Credit card balances, which is now total 1.21 trillion outstanding, grew by 45 billion during the fourth quarter and are 4% above the level a year ago. Auto loan balances rose by 11 billion and now stand at 1.66 trillion. 1.66 trillion in unpaid auto loan debt. Insane. Do you really need that Hellcat that badly? Other balances, which include retail cards and other consumer loans, grew by 8 billion. Student loan balances grew by 9 billion and now stand at 1.62 trillion. In total, non-housing balances grew by 73 billion, a 1.5% rise from quarter three of 2024. And here I saw this article from The Hill. 1/3 of Americans have more credit card debt than emergency savings, according to a survey. 2024 and 2023 saw a higher percentage at 36% each year. Inflation was on the rise in January. 73% of Americans are saving less due to rising prices. A new survey from Bankrate revealed that 33% of U.S. adults have more credit card debt than emergency savings. That number is down from 36% in 2024 and 2023. I had more debt. I had my IRA set up, which I rolled over my 401k from one of my jobs into an IRA, and I pay into it. I pay about $50 a month into it every month. That's what I can afford. And I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but I had more credit card debt than that IRA was worth for a few years. And I've paid back a few thousand of credit card debt now, but it's still pretty close. But, you know, I don't know. It's like maybe I have like maybe $1,000 less of credit card debt than I have in my IRA, in my savings, account, my retirement savings. But it's still pretty fucking high. I'm slowly paying it off as we go, but these credit card repayment programs, they work for me for the most part. That's what I'm using right now. I'm going to pay that off in another 2-3 years. But a lot of Americans are still trapped in this debt spiral, and it's just getting worse. It's very bad. I don't know if I could consider myself lucky. My credit score is probably around 700 somewhere, which is pretty decent considering I've missed a few payments here and there. But it dipped down a little bit after I signed up for this repayments strategy, the service. So maybe it'd work for some other people. I don't know. But it says here, Bankrate's 2025 emergency savings report found that this year's percentage is still higher than 2022, when only 22% of Americans had more credit card debt than emergency savings. I think it was half of Americans couldn't afford a $400 expense like a medical emergency, or your car breaks down, or there's something else you owe money on and stuff like that. $400, that's a lot of money to a lot of Americans, who, a lot of middle class Americans, they struggle to pay that. If I had a $400 expense, I'd probably have to take a loan out, or I don't know, just they'd probably send me to collections. I'd probably have to work out some kind of payment plan. I'd be fucked, I wouldn't be able to fix my car if my car broke down. It's bad. It's bad, and fortunately, I spend a little bit of money on my car when I have money, so I put some new wheels on the car. That was a few $100. New tires rather. And I had some other work done on the engine. I put about $1,000 into that car in the last year, but I'm glad I was able to afford it. But at this point right now, things are tight right now. I'm paycheck to paycheck right now. If something else broke on that car, I'd have to just live with it, or just not drive the damn thing, take the bus. That's what a lot of people I know do. A lot of people take the bus, or they take Uber and whatnot. But it's a real mess. When you break it down into age groups, millennials were most likely to have more debt than savings. Oh yeah, I'm there. About 42% falling into that category. Despite this, nearly 3 in 4 Americans, or 73%, are saving less money for emergency situations due to rising prices. The cost of living continues to rise, prompting more individuals and households to turn to credit cards when in a bind. Mark Hamrick, Bankrate's senior economic analyst, wrote, in January, the consumer price index increased 3% from a year ago, according to data from the Labor Department. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit in my video about people getting locked into poverty, but I haven't seen the actual numbers until right now, but that was just a little blurb. But Reddit had some stuff to say about this. I would say that 1/3 was truthful in the survey and 1/3 lied. No way, it's only 1 in 3 that has more credit card debt than savings. When 47% of household incomes are below $50K, with housing and food costs 50 leaves very little for anything else. So costs maybe 50%, maybe they made like half or whatnot. I feel the same. Other surveys say half of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, so the figure of 45 to 55% of Americans having deep finance trouble seems consistent. I disagree with the general sentiment of median household income is now over 80K. Inflation and total living expenses also need to be factored in. Also, according to the census reports, the total amount of people living in a household adds to an estimated household income. More and more Gen Z and Gen Alpha are living at home beyond 25, which is now artificially increasing the household income level too. The census counts anyone over the age of 15 in their statistics. It's a little flawed, though taking into consideration those facts with the median income of 80K and over half being in larger debt than savings seems accurate. Oh, baby. A lot of people don't engage with credit cards at all, but basically everyone has at least some kind of savings. So the statistic doesn't seem absurd to me. Doesn't mean that somebody with $20 in the bank, tons of debt, no credit card is in a good financial situation, but it does mean they have more savings than credit card debt. In the bank, tons of debt. I don't know. It just, yeah, it's a big mess. I think I'm down a couple bucks in both my accounts. Not too much money, but I'm waiting until Tuesday for my next paycheck. Right now, I'm just living. I'm probably gonna wind up borrowing a couple bucks from my dad to get some groceries or whatnot. But at least I'm in a position where I can get some money and pay him back later. That's usually what I usually do. I owe him some money still from some other stuff, but I owe people all over the place. Everything. I owe some medical debt. I owe some other shit, but who cares about me? But it's a real mess. It's a real mess. But here we go. Americans' credit card and household debt reach an all-time high. This is from Fox Business. Okay, I guess the video is not going to play. Americans' household debt levels, including credit card debt, rose to a new all-time highs in the fourth quarter of 2024, according to a report. Oh, there it is. Oh, this fucking ad. Fuck it, I'm not watching the ad. Sorry. Reports show that overall household debt increased by $93 billion to $18.4 trillion at the end of 2024, all-time high. Credit card balances rose. We already know all that stuff. Delinquency rates ticked higher by 0.1 percentage point from the prior quarter to 3.6% of outstanding debt in some stage of delinquency, while delinquency transition rates steady for nearly all types of debt except for credit cards, which had a small uptick in transitions from current to serious delinquency, defined as 9 days past due. Oh, we already pretty much talked about all this stuff. But this guy says, overall, consumers are in pretty good shape in terms of household debt landscape, largely driven by stable balances and solid performance in mortgage loans, the New York Fed's economic researchers wrote in a post accompanying the report. However, for auto loans, higher car prices combined with higher interest rates have driven monthly payments upward and have put pressure on consumers across The income and credit score spectrum, they wrote. The episode of rapidly rising car prices had heterogeneous impacts on borrowers, have also shifted between used and new cars as well as between loans and leases. The decline in used car prices constrained some borrowers who bought a used car when prices were higher, potentially leaving them underwater on those loans, the New York Fed said. These shifts have put additional pressure on lower income and lower credit score borrowers who may have had to opt for higher priced used cars over the last few years, the researchers wrote. The credit card defaults soared to highest level in 14 years. Used car prices have since declined from the peak, potentially leaving some borrowers underwater on those vehicles and creating potential repayment challenges, they added. At the same time, the decline in auto prices could imply the more recently originated vintages of auto loans may fare better than those as those loans age. The number of consumers with a bankruptcy notation added to their credit record was 123 in the fourth quarter, according to bank data, a decline from the third quarter. So that's one positive sign. But yeah, this is a little bit of this is a TikTok on the financial situation unfolding in America.
Reserve shows a new report from the Federal Reserve shows American household debt is at an all-time high of $18 trillion. Debt grew by $93 billion at the end of 2024, and half of that increase came from new credit card debt. Now, New York Federal Reserve researchers are partially blaming holiday shopping and high interest rates.
$1.2 trillion, that's up 7% compared to a year ago. So it does show that those credit card balances are going up overall. Some of this is signs of a healthy economy, right? People are out spending money. They feel comfortable buying stuff. Like you said, during the holiday shopping season, that is a time.
Yeah, but it all goes on the goddamn credit cards.
On their credit cards, whether it's gifts for other people or gifts for themselves. And part of this is that more people are using cards over.
All my family members got socks last Christmas. I'm not going into more credit card debt to buy you a present. I don't love you that much.
Overall, that's a trend we've seen in the economy over the past few years. But there is this growing debt balance. It's been going up steadily over the past couple of quarters and couple of years. And that is something that we're looking at when you say, how much of those people are falling behind on their payments? What we know is about typically half of people do pay their credit card balances in full. So if you're doing that, not so much of a concern. What is concerning is people who are getting behind on their payments, especially given the really high interest rates that we're seeing, Diane, right now, about 20%. I talked to Ted a lot at Bank Rate, and we're looking at those rates, and they're not really coming down much. And that's a concern if you are behind, because that interest can add up really quickly when you're looking at your payments every month.
Oh, it absolutely can. I talked about this before, but when I was paying my credit cards off, when I was talking to the debt management people, the people that basically were the ones that settled my credit card debt, and who I'm paying, and they were just like, you spent the credit card limit was like 10 grand, but you spent 9 grand just in interest payments, just making the minimum payments over like a span of like 3-4 years. So it's absolutely insane. The interest rates, you're just paying the interest. You pay the balance in full, just in interest, but you're not paying any of the principal. I mentioned that before. It's an absolute mess, but this woman here had an interesting story.
So, my husband and I are $60,000 in debt. Okay.
Part of the problem. You are.
Let me explain how we got here. In June of 2022, we had a good amount of savings and decided that our home that we've been living in for a couple years just needed some maintenance and some upgrades. You can see behind me, we live in like a very normal house, but there were some things like on the outside where our stucco was falling off, so we needed to have that repaired. We had our house painted, we upgraded.
That's the thing about houses. My brother, he owns a house in a pretty good neighborhood. He makes decent money, but when he got in, he had to like fix. There was like a problem with the driveway. He had to have like his driveway redone. There was a problem with his front deck. He had to have that fixed. His furnace went out a couple months ago when the weather started getting cold. He woke up, he saw his breath. He's like, fuck, that cost him like $1,200. But that's the thing about owning these homes. I know this isn't quite about, but it does have to do with like household debt. You put a lot of money and time into these houses, and a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes they just buy them and they really can't afford to fix them up, or they go into debt fixing these things up. It can get out of control really quickly.
Our bathroom a little bit, And also decided to pay off my husband's private student loan because the interest is not great. And so we had plenty of savings and we decided to just drain those bad boys. We both had really stable jobs. We would be able to squirrel away some money over time and build back up our savings again. 2 weeks later, unexpectedly, I was laid off from my job. And I'm the breadwinner of our household, so it did not go well. I was unemployed for about 7 months. Thank goodness I had social media to keep us afloat for a little bit, but here's the deal.
I remember getting laid off back in like 2018, and my the company I was working for, it was I got hired through a temp agent, like not a temp agency, but like a recruiting firm, and they're the ones that you get hired by the recruiting firm and they place you in a job. And the recruiting firm told me I was laid off because the company was basically having financial issues. It wasn't due to my performance, but what my boss told when I applied for unemployment, what my boss told them is that I got fired, and so you can't claim unemployment right away if you've been fired from a job. I was without any income for a month. It was an absolute fucking nightmare. Luckily, I had a little bit of savings left over, but I was also racking up my credit card debt. You know, it was just, I had a little bit of savings. I blew through that quickly, paying off bills and shit. And then out come the credit cards, and it just, the balances just keep going up, up, up. And that's part of the problem. That can really, really fuck you. It's just like thinking to myself, like, what would happen if I lost my job? You know, if I lost my job now, that would be pretty shitty. But, you know, it's just like motivation. It's like, man, I need this fucking money. It sucks, though. It sucks, you know, just being stuck in this cycle. But let's read some of these comments here. I don't know why people have kids before paying off student loans, file bankruptcy. How are they confused why the kids were still in daycare while one of y'all was unemployed? What did you do during the day? Yeah, that's interesting. People are saying file bankruptcy on 65K is crazy. Fortunately, you always need an emergency fund no matter what. I think I'm 1K in debt. Thank you for making me feel better. LOL. So, yeah, it's mixed feelings about this. Live within your means. I say that with love. So, yeah, people gotta... Man, having kids, that's a rough one. I'm so glad I never had kids. Oh my God, am I so glad I never had kids. But this kind of shit's happening to a lot of people. What was... Hold on, let me do some typing here. Average debt of American. Let's see this right here. The fourth quarter of 2024, the average American household debt is $105,000 according to Motley Fool. This is an all-time high. Mortgages make up 70% of household debt. Credit cards. The average U.S. household owes $10,000 on credit cards. Auto loans. The average U.S. household owes $37,000 on auto loans. Debt by age. Gen Z, ages 18 to 23, average debt of $9,593. Millennials, age 24 to 39, average debt is $78,396. Gen X, ages 40 to 55, average debt is 135 to 841, 135,000. Boomer debt is 96,000. Silent generation, age 75 and above, average debt of 40,925. So debt to income ratio. Your debt to income ratio is more important than the amount you owe. If you're struggling with debt, there are tools to improve. Okay, blah, 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 blah. But all this shit, this is absolute insanity, absolute craziness. But yeah, that's all for now. But yeah, household debt, I didn't realize it was that fucking bad. I didn't realize it was 18 trillion. It's absolutely insane. I'm working on my debt too. Hope you guys have your debt under control. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. But thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. More videos are on the way. All sorts of fun stuff to be talking about. A lot of depressing stuff about bipolar disorder and depression and debt and how fucked Gen Z is. I'm going to make some videos about the dating market too. That should be fun. That should cheer everybody up. But yeah, that's all for me. I don't see you. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Ryan Little.